Chat. Keep it alive through these lines I write. I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling them flares. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch a scenario. My stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it. So explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it. No scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool. Hear my heartbeat beat into the vocals. I'm so loco, lost my mind, oh no. It's Ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones. Bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursue.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to the Anti-Media Radio, once again with your host Nick Burnaby here on UCY.tv. Make sure you guys check out our site, theantimedia.org, which I'm happy to say is coming along pretty well. And the website's redesign is taking effect, and its traffic is higher, and we're getting a lot of reads and some awesome articles. And Justin King is absolutely killing it. Cassius is doing a great job, man. I mean, got a couple new writers that are coming on board. It's just exciting times. It's great to see this movement grow, and it's good to know that more and more people are starting to become aware of, kind of the more of the causes of all these problems that we're having in the world today, rather than just being mad about it happening. I'm also joined here by my co-host DB Schwartz. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. That's an inspirational opening right there, and I have to say it's so true. Like, now's the time to talk, now's the time to write, now's the time to voice your opinion, because if everything goes according to plan for the people that want it the way they want it, we won't be able to do any of these things in a short time. So we got to do it now, influence people now, let people, just their better angles, especially the people at the top, and understand that what they have planned is the way to go about it, because we're going to fight you, and it's best you just turn on all these evil people right now.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's one of these things where the politicians are kind of 20 years behind, like what's actually going on. Kind of how the corporations are like 5 to 10 years behind what's going on. I had this conversation with my buddy. I think it was yesterday or the day before. But he's from PeaceLink Now, and it's like an organization where they try to get a bunch of different grassroots organizations connected together and working together and stuff. But what we were talking about is how these companies and stuff, just like the music industry, how they kind of lost touch when age came around and everything started going on the internet, and then that's when kind of iTunes kind of took over the game and all that stuff. Before that, the record companies were the big players, and now the record companies are all falling into despair and irrelevancy, and their only hope left now is just patent trolling, basically copyright trolling and stuff like that. But it's so true, man. The popular opinion, I think, has come around. It's just a fact that we're not being represented, and that the corporations, i.e. the media and stuff, they're like way behind what the real opinion actually is. So they're
fake.
Exactly, and we're being fed this fake story that the world is this way and everybody's Republican and Democrat and everybody's this and everybody's that. Unfortunately, that's just not reality anymore when it comes to the people like you and me and probably most of the people listening to this show. I mean, that's just not how it is anymore.
Nah, I mean, if you're a person that was born, I don't know, say pre-1970, where you went through college, you have a job, you're entrenched, and you've more or less lived the American lifestyle your entire life, and it's worked out for you, congrats. And also, good riddance, because it can't continue, because we're seeing that the unsustainability of the way we've been doing things.
Now the one thing is that it's like it's basically like the West is propping up Israel a lot, and honestly, that probably hurts them in the long run. But to me, it almost seems like this whole conflict is kind of military-industrial complex kind of. They're the ones that are kind of fueling this thing because they're the ones that are making a lot of money off of it.
Definitely.
Well, I'll also ask both you guys even, what is up with no power and no water? I mean, this is basically genocide, dude, because 3 days without water and you're gone.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrible. And then, it seems so far away, right? But then we look today and we're seeing that these people barely stopped the water cutoff from going off in Detroit.
Yeah,
so the thing is, we're sending Israel $3 billion a year. We're sending Hamas and the Palestinian Authority or whatever, who knows how much millions, and we're funding both sides of this thing indirectly or directly. And then at the same time, we have our own people in Detroit that are about to get their water cut off. It's absolutely insane that we can have this amount of foreign policy.
At least they go to the Great Lakes, dude, in the middle of Gaza. Like it's a death sentence. Death sentence, man. The desert right now in the summer. I mean, this is genocide.
It is. It's very much so. I agree.
So I guess we might as well just jump into this whole Gaza thing, man. So so far we got Over 500 casualties. The last statistic I saw was about 80% of these people have been civilians.
Yeah, about, I'm pretty sure it's like 30 to 40% are children of that percent, which are civilians.
Was from artillery, you said?
Yeah, from like IBMs or like whatever the fuck.
Missiles and things like that.
Yeah, the big strikes. The big strikes.
Oh, that's horrible, man. You know, so I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's disgusting. Like I've been seeing there so many videos and just so much like underground footage of these casualties that the Palestinians are experiencing on the Gaza Strip on the beach. And just last week there was a bunch of there was just a big old game of kids playing soccer on the beach, and there was I think a missile hit the beach and all of them died, and there was 14 of them. Just bodies just thrown all over the place, just mutilated, just burnt. Nobody even found them for days. You could tell that they were already experiencing the hardening of the body. They were rotten and cold.
Yeah, and
you see that all the time. So much graphic underground footage is coming out from Palestine. It's appalling that anyone can almost have a right to think that Israel is doing anything just in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, man, and there was a big turning point, in my opinion, that happened last week. I believe it was Thursday or something. It may have been Wednesday, actually. But there was a bomb that went off over there, or some kind of airstrike or something that hit a beach there, and we may be talking about the same story. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that's what we are.
Yeah, and all these boys that were playing soccer got killed.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that happened there, which was remarkable, and I think this is what really turned the tide, because I've noticed, other than maybe Fox News, outside of Fox News, all the other corporate sites, they actually basically had the gun to their head, where they had to start covering a little more, because what happened is a lot of their journalists were staying right there in this hotel that was right there. I know NBC's and MSNBC's correspondent was there, and he tweeted it out. And then to make matters worse, to make the media even look worse, what happened is that these companies they're trying to get ready to pull these journalists off their assignments after they tweeted out these raw images of what happened, right. and these raw stories, because they were like, oh, hey, whoa, this doesn't really fit our agenda. Well, guess what? It's too late. It already hit Twitter. And then when they tried to pull these guys out, then they got a blowback from the social media. We're like, whoa, these guys are tweeting truth, and you're going to pull them off the job? What the hell are you guys up to? You know what I mean? So then they had to leave them in. And ever since then, I've seen a kind of change in the media, where now they're starting to show a little bit more unbiased coverage. And then if they show unbiased coverage, anybody with any kind of common sense is going to say, oh, damn, the Palestinians are getting screwed over big time by the Israelis right now.
Right. Let's hope.
And I think that's what's happening now. Everybody but Fox News, and of course Fox News isn't going to do it, because they're openly Fox News is openly financed by these Saudi Arabian dudes, so they've got a lot of dogs in this game, in this race. Huh. So I mean, I don't think they're going to see these guys play such a complex foreign policy, and the Saudis.
Chest like a motherfucker, man.
Yeah, and the Saudis are enemies of the Iranians. The Saudis counter the Iranians, and you gotta remember that the Iranians are mostly the ones that are aligned with Hamas. So the Saudi Arabians aren't actually, even though they're Muslim as well as the Palestinians, they're not going to defend them, because it's a whole geopolitical chessboard or whatever that they got.
It's Shia Sunni too. It's Shia Sunni, and then also the crazy thing about the Iranians is Hamas is their proxy. So now they're going to, of course, inject drone warfare. You're going to see drone versus drone, IDF drone versus Hamas drone is coming soon, because they can't get any rockets through the Iron Dome, and they're not going to stop until they get some kind of weird land brokerage deal. But I just don't see anything happening. I think Israel's kind of in this to the end now, and as crazy as that sounds, I think they're in it to the end, because I think they understand that they can't go in anymore. This is the last time they could do this.
This is Palestine's final strike. Like, well, their final stand. If they have anything to give, it's right now. If not, they're gone, and the world will never win a Palestinian people again.
Yeah, and there's so much outcry now within the public. And I saw a picture today from Chicago. There must have been 8,000 or 10,000 people at this rally for pro-peace and
oh yeah, I saw
it. It was enormous. You know, so the public outcry is huge. I mean, in South Africa, it was enormous as well. I mean, we're talking about all over the world. In France, the protests got so. Yeah, in France, the protests got so radical that France had to put a temporary ban on any pro-Palestinian protests, and they came out the very next day, and like 6,000 people came out, and they just, instead of protesting, they just rioted. I mean, it was insane.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, Israel is making a very bad reputation, and you know what really sucks is that in a lot of these countries, especially in Europe and other areas in the Middle East, is that it's because of their actions, they're causing a rise in anti-Semitism. You know, and even people that aren't typically racist, they'll say some racist things because, unfortunately, they're emotionally reacting, and they're.
Right.
Yeah, exactly, man. And so this is bad for the things that Israel is doing right now is bad for Jews all over the world.
There's been all the actual like Jewish. Like people that are like not Zionist Jews, but actual like Jewish people, they're out here revolting against like Zionist Jews, the corporate Jew, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
you have to rally against the Bankster Jew. Like, I grew up Jewish myself, man, and like I'm not really religious at all. I'm very spiritual, however, but you have to rally against somebody where it's the whole Goyim mentality, dude, where if you're born into wealth of a great family that has access to everything, naturally you're going to be in a better position. And to look down on people who don't have the family that you have is ridiculous to me.
Yes. Right, I agree. It's absurd, it's disgusting, it's immoral.
And now here's another thing to think about, because what Israel is going to have to deal with in the very near future, and I'm sure they're already dealing with it now, is they're going to have this blowback on two different fronts. So not only you're creating tension in the Middle East, and you're creating a bunch of Muslims that are disliking you now because of what you're doing to the Palestinians. Now the other thing that they're doing is that when these people that are abroad, when they start to experience anti-Semitism, then where is their one safe haven? Back in Israel. But what's going on in Israel? A bunch of blowback coming back at Israel. So you're forcing, basically this situation is forcing a Tinder keg, basically. And it's really not a good situation for the world. And now what we're starting to see is, as the media coverage had started to shift last week because of that incident that we were talking about earlier, now all of a sudden the media is now pivoting over to this Ukrainian situation, right?
Yeah, no shit. Like,
so now they got this plane.
Yeah,
exactly, man. They got this plane now, and CNN's going to have a field day with it for the next who knows how long. But now it's so convenient now that the media coverage has started to shift that now they're able to say, okay, well now Russia is the bad guy because Russia probably shot down this plane or whatever.
Right.
So we have to understand that this is all part of their game. But now here's the thing: if Russia truly did shoot down that plane, and I hope they didn't. Because
I don't think Russia gives a fuck about that plane.
If they did shoot down that plane, that goes to show how little respect they have left for the American power. Because I was looking at it today, and I was listening to the radio, and I was listening to some breaking news or something, and they were talking about how basically Europe has a great economy and stuff, but Russia has all the resources, right? And Russia is the largest economy.
Dude.
Now, if you
Russia's flexing right here, right on the planet right now.
Yes,
Russia is out here like they are just playing their war games. They're out here doing their little military drills, whatever they're doing, just to show them like we will not be Like, we will not be. We are a force to be reckoned with. Like, mess with us. Just, I dare you.
Well,
Exactly.
You can look up in history that we've both come up with a plan to win a nuclear war, and it looks like these complete morons are going to test it now.
How do you feel about that whole thing? Like, this makes me think of, like, I'm not religious. I'm a spiritual person, but like the Book of Revelation, the Armageddon takes place in the Holy Lands of Israel, and it has confrontation with the Palestinian people, and it's like there's like some weird stuff going on with that whole like correlation of like how weird the world's getting right now, just because of like just this flare up of emotion experienced by like two different sides of the world looking at Israel, Palestine, just like, it's weird. It's very weird, and everyone's getting involved.
This is definitely, to me, it definitely mirrors what was going on in right before World War I. And you got to remember, World War I was set off, I think, in what is modern-day Serbia, but it's very, very close to all these areas here. It's in between Ukraine and the Middle East and stuff. So this stuff, what's happening now, it's very, very similar to me of World War I and World War II. And if you look at it, you remember the Axis powers in World War II. It was Germany, Austria, Italy, and Japan and stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So now you got that same kind of thing where you got Russia and China, and then you got Iran. And
you got just the NATO and then the other side.
Yeah, and these guys, and then you got the BRICS nations too, which is not a force to reckon with, and that's what I kind of wanted to talk about now, and I think why Russia's able to just completely disrespect, if they indeed did shoot down. Oh, sorry, I got a siren coming by here. If Russia indeed shot down that jet, that goes to show that they have no respect left for the American economy, basically. Because everyone knows that the one piece on the chessboard that the U.S. still does have is our gigantic, enormous military, right? But everything else, now, our economy now is based on such fiat, and it's so weak, and there's no manufacturing, and there's no middle class. There's no strength left in that economy. It's purely just Federal Reserve stuff, and that's it. And here's the other thing. Europe is the exact same way. Europe, with their EU, it's a fiat system, and the whole, Western continent is tied into it. So, Russia has no respect for that, and that's so clear now to me. If they did shoot down this plane, and I'm still waiting to find, I'm still waiting for the evidence to see what exactly happened. I for some reason, I doubt we won't get that evidence, actually, because there's so much propaganda flying, and there's supposedly these guys are tampering with the evidence and all this stuff. I mean, I've seen reports saying that the Ukrainian military shot it down on purpose, and I've
been seeing a lot about that.
Yeah, and I've seen reports that said Russia shot it down. I've seen reports that said the Ukrainian separatists shot it down. I mean, it's going to be really hard to get down to the root of this problem. But just the positioning by Russia just goes to show the lack of respect they have for our economy. And unfortunately, I think they're right. We really don't have anything that we can flex on them anymore. We can't really hurt them anymore. Because our economy is gone.
That we're not the biggest dogs in the penthouse anymore. I did, and he's saying it. I did. I said Russia's flexing on them. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a really tricky situation, I guess. Now the thing is that being that we're out here in the West and we're not Russians, our obligation. Because when it comes down to it, we really have no control over the Russian government. But our obligation is to deal with our government and what they're doing. And the thing that is really bugged me about this whole Ukrainian thing, besides the fact that there's State Department officials, Victoria Nuland, on record before the revolution ever took place, handpicking the guy that was going to run the show. And sure enough, he's the guy that ended up the prime minister. That's something that is extremely disheartening, And then these guys sent them billions and billions of dollars just months after they formed this new government that hadn't even been democratically elected. It had just been appointed and handpicked. And then immediately they send in Joe Biden's son to become the one on the board of one of these of their largest oil producer. I mean, it's just like a slap in the face, right? And then
I mean, that's corporate. That's corporate politics, man. It's disgusting. It's the thing that like I strive to like preach against and just information. It's corporate politics. Politics is just money. Politics is economics, and that's where the real problem lies.
Yeah, I agree. It's a huge problem where to have governments dictating our economics, because governments always are centralized, so then they always end up only benefiting a few people, you know.
Right.
Now we have this situation now where these I guess we can start calling them the Axis powers, and because that's who they're going to be portrayed as in the media,
right.
Basically. The BRICS powers, which is Brazil, Russia, India, and China, they've now formed their own IMF, basically. And they're moving away from the dollar in many, many ways. And so these sanctions that the U.S. is trying to sling over at Russia are only going to move them further and further away from the dollar. And guess what? They've got all the resources that Europe consumes. And since Europe is based on a consumer economy, it's based on a fiat economy, and Russia holds all the resources, guess what? Europe is completely at Russia's whim. Okay, so the next war, if World War III does kick off, it's probably going to start in Ukraine, because Ukraine is the doorstep to Russia, and that's where and that's the ladder that they're going to take to make their way up into Russia to take control of all those resources that are right there in the West. And that's where a lot of their resources lie. It's right there in the West, over by Moscow and all the area that Hitler tried to take over. Actually, most of their resources lie, and that's probably going to be if World War III does kick off, if all this stuff does boil over, and who knows what happens, because this stuff seems to be escalating by the day. You know, that's where the conflict's probably going to be at. And once again, it's going to be the same exact place that it was back in World War I and in World War II. I mean, it's like we can't learn our lesson and stop fighting over the same little pieces of land that are over there on the steppes of Europe. I mean, it's insane.
History is doomed to repeat itself. You can't learn from it first, second, third, or fourth time. It makes it that far.
So,
I appreciate talking with you tonight, my friend. And
yeah, man. Thanks for calling in.
From you, but I'm gonna have to tap out here.
Cool, man. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
If anybody else wants to call in, feel free. We got open lines tonight. 718-717-8296.
So many connotations, man. Like, you can just start to see what's going on. The build-up, the World War III risk every day, man. Starting to read up on some of these technologies that both of us have. We're so far beyond what people think we're at, it's laughable. When shit actually does start, I don't think anybody's going to have any idea what's even going on. It's going to be surreal, dude, some of the stuff that I've been reading up on. And if we can prevent it at all, it's going to save the world. If we can't prevent it, the whole world's going to be affected. It doesn't matter if you're in Greenland or South Pole or wherever. It doesn't matter, man. The fallout alone from just nuclear exchanges is going to be phenomenal. And then they got things up their sleeve after that make the nuclears look like the 70-year-old tech that they are.
Yeah, man. I mean, dude, we can't survive it. You know, we can't survive a World War III. That was even Einstein predicted that. He said, I don't know what World War III will be fought with, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. I mean, and it's so true, because now we possess this capability to destroy the entire world and ruin the Earth, possibly, with radiation poisoning and who knows what else they got up their sleeves. You know, and there's all this stuff, you know, we can't forget about this news from the CDC where there's all this neglect and all these mishandling of all these dangerous viruses and bacteria and stuff, and then we find out, what was it, a few weeks ago, that they recreated this deadly plague virus that can kill like 400 million people or whatever. And at the same time, they're reporting news about how these guys are like incompetent. They're not taking care of the viruses and the pathogens and all that stuff. And it's like, what the hell are they trying to do? And then we sit here and we see this thing go off in Ukraine, and then the video that they're showing on TV is a bunch of brand new like unscathed passports. How does everybody in the whole plane die and then a bunch of passports survive it? It just doesn't. I mean, it's the same thing they did with 9/11, right? And so, they're just trying to provoke out these people that are going to say, hey, what the hell's going on? And that doesn't add up, and I think that they're trying to find that, they're trying to get people to speak up and see what they're thinking, and who's going to say something, and who's going to think differently.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and then they'll, according from there, they'll have the re-education camp option, so to speak, and so forth. I mean, it's getting to the point where it's going to be real. Like, somebody's got to rule the world. We've always said, I've always said that. Somebody's got to rule the world. There's got to be some dominant ideology, some dominant political body. The one world government, though, we don't necessarily want. We'd rather probably have 4 superpowers, maybe one for each huge landmass. We don't want a one world government. We want to keep cultures pretty much distinct. I mean, these are things that make us human beings. We're ready to accept the next step of transhumanism, which is when we kind of get past all these things. Well, then we'll get there. But to force it along and make it what it is now, it's too much, too fast. And the people see that, and there's a lot of blowback and a lot of resistance, and it's going to scuttle the whole NWO agenda thing and make it into the fractured, pardon my French clusterfuck that it's going to become.
Yeah, man, and for the U.S. or anybody, Russia, anybody, China, to go out and try to impose their way of life, it's almost laughable to think China going out and spreading its version of democracy around the world. It's almost laughable. But the thing is that from another perspective, the same thing that the U.S. is doing is completely laughable as well, because people sit there and look at the U.S. and say, wow, they're completely dysfunctional. Look at them. They waste so much, and they're all these things, and they go and blow people up, and they fly drones over all these countries. And for people from the other perspective can say, damn, these guys are complete idiots. I can't believe that they actually, their citizenry actually believe what their government's telling them, that they're actually going around spreading freedom. That'd be like us sitting back and seeing Beijing trying to go out and spread their version of freedom, and not saying, whoa, what the hell? That's
it's a
horrible.
Perfect storm of control here, bread and circus, and then you're paranoid because you've getting a steady diet of fear porn from forever in the news. When's the last time a positive story really was the headline? It never will be on this corporate media. I mean, me and you grew up in a culture of fear. Now, am I afraid? No, I'm not. But I've decided to not become that way. Like, I'm not worried about what's going to happen. There's things to get around it, and we understand, me and you and other people, that the easiest way to stop all these things is just start becoming self-sufficient. We always come back to it every single time. If you stop needing them, they can't do anything. They have no resources. They're a puppet regime as it is, and they're the Wizard of Oz. So imagine if none of us bought into it at all. They'd be gone in an instant and hunted down like the thieves they are. So that's what we're going to get to, man. It's getting to that point. When they try to introduce electronic currency and microchipping, we just say no. You know what? We just say no. And then that's it. And that's the natural course of events. The dollar will implode, we'll go back to a gold standard, and these guys will be done. The Fed will be over. The whole thing is prevent World War III so that we have some future to live in, and not this nightmare scenario these guys are trying to cook up.
Yeah, man. Unfortunately, it seems to me like the dollar has to die in order to avert World War III. And it seems to me as well that it's happening. I mean, I sit here and I watch Janet Yellen come out and say, hey, inflation is still too low. We haven't reached our target of 2%. Really? Because I've noticed a lot of inflation, and all of my costs have gone way up.
4%. It's almost 1% a month right now, Nick. There's a lot of products that are jumping 50 cents a month when they're $5. That's 10%. This is real. This is not a joke anymore. There's no little sales at Vons where you can get by anymore. There's people that are working jobs that need food stamps, and they make too much. Now what? Now they're living worse than people that are on food stamps. It doesn't make sense, but of course, it's all part of the plan to gut the middle class out. But as we've always seen, every time in history, a country with no middle class is a country with no future. It doesn't matter what you try to do. Eventually, the poor get so numerous that they just simply outnumber the elite so much they cannot stop them. It doesn't matter if you have drones in the air and microchips everywhere. You can kill everyone on the whole planet? No. So it's not going to work. So this whole insane paperclip ideal utopia that came over and will never work, it needs to end now so we can get past this, get on with our differences, and then move forward. I think that's what we all want.
Yeah, that would be ideal, and if we really could do that. Now, the one inherent flaw of this kind of centralized government stuff is what we're seeing now with what's happening here in the U.S., it's happening in Europe, all over the place. There's a bunch of disaffected people, and that's why this idea of like one world government and all that stuff is like inherently flawed, because it just won't happen. Because if you did that, it'd be even more out of touch than what the federal government already is. And people just wouldn't stand for that. At least, hopefully not. Because we need to keep progressing and pulling our livelihood and our everything out of the hands of other people. And especially people that are in this class-based system where there's the working class and then the middle class and then the ruling class and then the oligarch class and all that stuff. If we can just keep on taking away those strings that have us tied up higher and higher in this ladder, then guess what? All those strings will reconnect locally and closer to us, which means that the money and the resources and the commodities and all that stuff are coming from much closer to our own connections. And we're not reliant on this shadowy figure that owns Walmart, that lives who knows where, that owns more capital than the bottom 40% of the rest of the population. We don't got to worry about them no more. We got to cut those strings off. And as Americans, I guess that's one of the things that epitomizes us. If you ask someone from Europe or ask someone from South America or something, and they'll say, yeah, it's the materialistic thing, the, superficial stuff, Hollywood and all that, because Hollywood is the image that is projected to the world from us, and besides our foreign policy. So they think that we're this materialistic society and all that stuff, and rightfully so, because we are, in many ways. Unfortunately, that kind of society is reliant on these centralized structures, these corporate structures, which end up sticking us in the situation where we're at, where our money is getting raided, our politicians don't represent us, our money's being taken and used to kill children in Gaza Strip. It's being used to suppress uprising in Ukraine, and it was used right before that to raise up an uprising in Ukraine. So we need to take it back by cutting those strings and reconnecting locally and pulling ourselves off the grid. And a lot of the grid is based on the dollar. And if you look at what's going on right now, it's a slap in the face to the dollar system. That's what it is. If Russia shut down that plan, that's a slap in the face to the dollar system. They're saying, hey, we don't respect your currency no more. We don't consider you the world currency anymore. You're not the world economic powerhouse anymore. China's about to surpass us in 20. Actually, they were projecting that China's economy will surpass us this year. So they're just saying, hey, you guys aren't the big boys anymore. You guys screwed it up.
It's really quite simple, man. Like, what happened was a perfect firestorm on the economic level, where you have the U.S. that outspends the rest of the world in dollars. But that's just a misnomer, because in China and Russia, they're not paying on the same scale, you see. So they may be spending a tenth of what we spend, but they're getting twice or three times as much. They don't have the massive fraud like we do from the capitalist system, with all the lobbying and the bribery and the back and forth and the overhead. Look at the F-35 as a perfect example. It's still not in the skies, and that's been so expensive, it would have sent everybody to college since it started being developed 23 years ago for free. So what would we have done with another 100 million degree-holding American citizens? Well, we'd probably be off this planet or something along those lines. But the waste is absolutely extraordinary. So it doesn't matter if we spend $2 trillion, $3 trillion, $5 trillion. The money's coming out of thin air. It's being wasted. The efficiency and the productivity doesn't match Russia and China, and our technological edge is gone, dude. It's gone. We may have a few tricks up our sleeve, but I don't think they respect the ability of us to do anything but a nuclear attack. I don't think that they think we'll use one, because that's suicide.
Yeah, man, we switched from an economy and a society that thought about making the best product and the most awesome innovations to now we're a society of patent trolls, copyright trolls, government-controlled economy, central planning, and centralized, economo-political control. And it's so apparent. And the question you asked about what would it be like if there was 100 million newly educated, college-educated Americans, because if we would have spent that money on education instead of building this worthless jet that they can't even fly, well, guess what? We wouldn't have so much damn war, bro, because we wouldn't need it, because there wouldn't be that many people with economic uncertainty. And economic uncertainty is what enables the media and the ruling class to stampede people into these dumb ideas. Just like Iraq. How did they get us into Iraq? Well, they scared the hell out of you economically. That's what they did.
And how are they going to get us to fight Russia? Scare us with a down plane. And it's stupid, simple things like that that involve mass conflicts that end with millions. And then, if it really is a fight with Russia, it probably end up being billions and billions of people that end up perishing, because the weaponry is going to be so massive, and it will be a global scale war. We can't allow that. If you do want to survive the next couple of months, it behooves you to let everybody know around you what's going on. Spread it out, because it's like you say, there's two powers, the public opinion of the U.S. and then the U.S. government itself. They're the two most powerful forces in the world, and if they're at odds, we can prevent things. We can prevent a ground invasion of Syria, and we can definitely prevent a nuclear exchange with Russia at all costs, because we're not going to be around if that happens. We live in San Diego, man. We're going to hit. Everyone will be hit in a major sin. If you live in a city of over 1 million people, you're going to get hit. They have that many things, and it's going to be all out. There's not going to be a middle ground or a conventional half-ass thing. That's not how big boys play. And they've been preparing for this forever. The end of World War II, they've been preparing. Both sides have been preparing for this.
And, the other thing to think about is Russia's got a lot more nuclear weapons than we do. They got a lot more than we do. They built a lot more up during the Cold War, because they were probably a lot more paranoid, even though we were pretty bad, too. But it goes to show, in the end, the American citizens and the Russian citizens kind of have the same problem. We have this common problem where our government is heavy-handed, and they want to do all this foreign policy stuff and all this meddling in the affairs of other nations. And to this day, Russia is still the second biggest meddler of affairs of any other country besides us. China doesn't do as much meddling because they're more focused internally and trying to keep their enormous population under control, because China is just another short-fused stick of dynamite that could blow at any moment as well. But to me, it's not a coincidence that all these places are popping off at once. I think it's very Orwellian, and I think it may very well play into the fact that people are finally realizing what the hell is going on in enormous amounts of numbers. I saw a poll the other day that said that over 50% of people think that the U.S. should start pulling back from overseas and focusing back on domestic policy and domestic issues. And that now 40% of people or more affiliated with independent or political independents and not Republican and Democrat. So I think maybe that they're trying to create all this chaos to distract us from the fact that we're getting tired of these assholes. Really. We are getting tired of these assholes, and they're trying to take our eye off the ball with all this chaos. And let's not sugarcoat this. Let's not sugarcoat this. These people are willing to kill tens of thousands, if not more, just to retain their power structure and to retain their system that they love so much. That's how many.
But even the people that's why you have to know there's a rift at the top. Even if you don't read it all on the internet or any other sources for what's going on behind the scenes from all kinds of these whistleblower types, you get an idea of what's going on. There's a fracture at the top, too, because what are you going to do? Destroy the Earth to control the population? Just wipe out all these people that have nothing to do with anything? They're just trying to live their lives? It's so overblown. It's so overproportionate to what needs to happen, which is just a gradual tail off of our population where people will just have kids. I mean, make a tax incentive where if you have more than 2 kids, you get penalized. It's so simple. Just replace you and your spouse. Doesn't matter, whatever it is. You want to have a guy and I have 2 kids, a girl, or a girl and a guy. It doesn't matter, whatever. 2 children for a couple. I mean, we'll make it work somehow, but...
Well, maybe they could just stop subsidizing marriage and stop subsidizing having kids, right, because that's what they do now.
Get out of our marriages. Stop basically telling us what the terminology means to us. It's a union of 2 souls that says we're going to stay together forever or whatever, better or worse, and you're going to give me some tax breaks because I'm going to bring more lives into the world or at least raise them. So... yeah, I get it. But at the same time, whatever. Do we really need it? Do dual incomes need any extra tax breaks? Let's just lower all the taxes. Which is the lowest it can be. I mean, of course, but libertarian. So I don't want to be taxed for anything I can't actually see at work. Like, I want emergency systems, and I want a military or a border allow my culture that I grew up in to survive. But other than that, we could probably do everything, even road building, be privatized. In a real non-crony capitalism with a gold-backed dollar. That would be a utopia.
Yeah, man, I mean, I definitely agree with you on most of those points. And it all draws back to, this breaking away of the corporate system and the political system. And one thing I wanted to cover tonight, because we got some interesting updates out of the anti-media with this, is this uptick in the police state, and so I think it all ties in together. Whether we're talking about this foreign policy and the fact that all this stuff is popping off at once, the border policy now where they're locking all these people up in these camps, which is a very, very dangerous precedent being set, and it's a very dangerous practice, because these camps could be very well one day used for political dissidents, just like they were used in World War II for the Japanese and other Asian Americans and stuff like that. And now the people being thrown in these camps are all Hispanic from Latin America and stuff. But that's kind of beside the point. The point is that these crazy camps one day could be, used for something else, and something not so nice. And then we got this militarization of the police force, and I think we talk about this pretty often on the show, and it's a huge topic right now. The O'Reilly Factor, crazy enough as it sounds, ran a hit piece on Cop Block, which is is an organization that I help manage. I help manage their social media and stuff. And yeah, this video just came. I don't know when it came out. I just saw it today. And it's posted on my personal.
There's going to be a lot of riled up 68-year-old cop.
No, 72-year-olds.
72. Oh, that's O'Reilly's average. Okay.
Yeah, Bill O'Reilly. Their median age is the median age of people that watch Bill O'Reilly is 72.
So the RSVP are going to be out in force.
The senior volunteer patrol.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly, dude. You better watch. They're going to be fully packing it now, dude.
So to get this kind of recognition by someone like Bill O'Reilly, which is horribly enough as it sounds, is the most popular evening news program. And he basically called cop blockers idiots. Literally, he actually said that, idiots. And then
Pinheads?
Yeah. And then he went on to say that cop blockers are just interfering in police work and all that stuff. And then they went on to demonize the co-founder, which is Ademo Freeman, and they went on to demonize the fact that he's a 2-time victim of the the drug war. But here's the thing, man. Not only is this World War III stuff kind of popping off because the ruling class knows that the working class is about tired of them and about fed up, so they figure they pull the Orwellian route first and see if that works, and see if they could just debase all of our resources, the little that we have left, by starting World War III, and making us wheels and do that thing, and then hopefully maybe they think they can reestablish their propaganda after the war and try to reestablish the post World War II euphoria type of thing. But we saw where that led us to. This post World War II euphoria led us into Korea and then Vietnam and then the 60s and then all the CIA stuff and all the FBI and all the Martin Luther King, JFK and all that crap. So no, we don't want to go that route again. We never want to go that route again. We don't want World War III. We don't want a post-war economy. We want an open source economy. And that's the thing, is we need an economical revolution that runs parallel to this ideological revolution that I believe is taking place now, in order to make this thing lasting. Because you can have an ideological revolution, but if the economic status quo remains in place, then guess what? All the funding, the power structure, and all that stuff is going to stay. Now we need the economic revolution where it's all open source, and that's what America, in my opinion, used to be about. It was about creating great ideas that benefited the world. That's what we used to do.
And it will begin because the technological innovations coming out are going to allow you to be free. I mean, imagine if you own a home that pays you to live in it because it's making so much power back to the grid. And now it gets rid of the biggest problem I have with home ownership, which is property tax. Just imagine it's just paid for already, and then some, just by getting the right tech put on your property. And this tech's getting cheaper and cheaper. It can be financed and put in for free. You get tax credits for it. It can even power your vehicles. Why ever go to a gas station again? I've been looking into it. Electric scooters are cheap. If you need to go anywhere that's not a highway jaunt, grab one of your electric scooters for, I don't know, $4,000, and that'll pay itself back in like 2 years. I mean, we're going to be free of these monolithical corporations very soon. With 3D printing, there's no more Target, no more Walmart. I mean, there's going to be so many leaps and bounds that are going to come soon. You're going to have a robot eventually. Like we've been saying forever that the people that are manufacturers need to own machines. They're going to own the robots. That's going to be the difference. It's going to be, do you have a robot worker? Now this robot worker is going to free you up to do all these things, like basically create. I mean, and what happens if your robot worker is so efficient, he makes his second robot, third, fourth. You see where this can go? And the elite are petrified at the idea of this. But it's complete freedom. Transhumanism is going to be freedom of mind. And then once that happens, imagine where we'll be able to take our bodies.
Everybody's got to have their own robot, man. In the future, dude, in the new economy. In 50 years from now, everyone's going to need their own robot, and no one's going to have to do much manual labor unless they want to go out in the garden and do the gardening, and for mental health and stuff like that. Otherwise, you send your robot out there to handle that for you. You send your robot into your work. You send your robot to do your stuff. Meanwhile, you can focus on creativity, man. And then in the future, and if we can get this thing on track, and if we can prevent this World War III situation from happening and all this destruction, it's going to set us back. Once again, back to that Einstein quote. I mean, World War III would set us back big time, dude. Big time. I mean, we've talked about it before, where people would just survive by dumb luck. I mean, they won't even.
It would only set back those on the surface. Those underground would continue to work, and then eventually get off planet without interfering with them and taking up any of these precious resources. I think that's the entire game plan, and that's so wrong. if you're able to set 7 billion people free, the elites have nothing to worry about. Oh, we're gonna all rise up so high together. We'll be off planet within 2-3 decades tops if we just all were able to maximize our own efficiency and stop this pettiness and this greed. It's so beneath us as a species.
I saw this article on Reddit the other day, and it was basically a guy saying, "Hey man, stop demonizing this technology with the whole minimum wage debate, because apparently there's a billboard, I think it was in LA or something, where there was a billboard that was basically against the minimum wage increase, and it said, hey, if you want to increase minimum wage, meet your job replacement, and it's like a kiosk, you know. But the technology in its current stage, I mean, we're in this kind of middle ground now, and this kind of turning point, I guess, where like we talked about, there's this patent trolling technology and there's open source technology. And if we make this technology open source, it's going to free us up of so much of the stuff that we were just talking about, the manual labor, the mundane tasks, and the things that we aren't really wanting to do. And it frees us up for this more cerebral type of existence where we can just focus most of our energies on creative things and building stuff, starting businesses, coming up with ideas, innovations, and eventually moving us off of this planet. That's kind of the end goal when it comes to this planet, because everyone knows that sooner or later, it's 1 billion years down the line or more, but sooner or later this planet is done. I mean, this planet, the sun is going to expire, and everything that's left here is going to get burned up and turn back into particles that are going to go and turn into a supernova and turn back into other planets that are on, probably. But guess what? If we're still here at that time, then our species is lost. All life on this planet is lost. And it's kind of like this Noah's Ark situation, where sooner or later we're going to have to bail out of this planet, and we're going to have to go and find a new home. And if we can't start getting along, if we're going to continue with this idiotic cycle that we've been going through for how many thousands of years, where it's one rise of a civilization and then the fall of the civilization, and then out of the ashes a new empire is born, and then they rise and then they fall, and then 1 million people die. I mean, it's over and over and over again. Sooner or later, I guess, hopefully I'm hoping that this technology, that this open source technology, is going to unleash us from that horrible cycle and bring us into this new age, and it's going to help us feel this intellectual revolution, an ideological revolution, and we can finally break away from that, and then we can finally start to realize our true potential as humans, and as our, what nature has provided us with through evolution, which is this awesome computer for a brain that we all have, Yeah.
Imagine a world where math wasn't scary, so we had tons of scientists and engineers. And then also where you were given art and music classes in high school, and even in junior, and even in elementary school, like we used to, and that we had tons of great artists, and we could have another Renaissance period. I mean, these things are totally possible, and they're kind of free, because we spend so much already on stupid crap to kill other people instead of lifting ourselves up, that all we would really need to do is demand en masse that we wanted those things allocated instead of swords into plowshares, and there was really not a lot they could do without pretty much killing all their own people, which they wouldn't do, and we'd change the world. We could do it in a generation. We could eliminate war and raise the technology level so high everyone would have a great existence, and then we'll get off planet. I mean, these are all things that are feasible now. There's a few things holding it up, and a lot of it is just people need to wake up and not buy into this anymore. Stop paying for these things. Stop paying for gas. Stop paying for coal, powers your electricity, and get off this grid.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Make sure you check the Anti-Media. Check out our Salinas debacle, the police department on there. Stay up to date on the MRAP info and the police state. Catch you guys on Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in.
Let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.